work and stress can completely eliminate a lot of the progression that you would make with eating whole food, plant-based and exercise. But I've been dealing with a little bit of nervous system issues for the past 3 years. And I'll be honest with you, every time I do these digital detoxes, I feel like me again. Why wait to get sicker and not manage my stress properly for me to change something when I should change something now? That I can't pour from an empty cup. We're all human, and that it's possible to work through it.
Right, a little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows sponsor free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. Over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today, so enjoy the episode.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Wow, it feels like it's been a while since I've said that. This is my first recording since coming back from my 2-week digital detox. So bear with me as I get back into it, because I have not been on a screen, on a computer, recorded any content throughout that time. And it goes away real fast, the comfortability that you have on camera. So in today's episodes, I just wanted to share some of the lessons and insights that I've had for myself on this past 2-week digital detox, which again, completely no screen, no work, which makes you realize how long 24 hours actually is and how much time there is in a day and how long it can actually feel. You're not just doom scrolling on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. The reason I like to share these lessons is because I think when you create space out of being bored and doing nothing, which is something that in our society, we don't have a lot of opportunities to do, right? When was the last time you felt bored? There's always a way to distract yourself with your phone. You gain great insights into yourself, especially if you're seeking those insights. And so I made a list of some of the realizations that I've had and some of the cool things that Ivy and I did during a digital detox. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. So this was my first time doing a full 2 weeks. Usually I just do 1 week every 2 months. And this time we wanted to try 2 weeks because one, I was really tired. And two, it was a good opportunity for us to kind of test our team and employees and kind of see how the systems that we've built and the company that we've built would be able to withstand me not being there for 2 weeks. And just hint, we thrived. It did phenomenally well. So I'm very excited. That means that we have a really like an all-star team at this point. We have great coaches. We have a great team behind the scenes. So the first week of the detox, I continued to train for basketball and all those things. But I was napping about 2 hours every single day, about midday, just to kind of catch up from how tired I was. So I've shared this in some previous podcasts, but I've been dealing with a little bit of nervous system issues for the past 3 years. And it tends to flare up when I get very, very stressed. And it just makes me very exhausted. And there's some pain associated to it as well. And that's kind of one of the reasons I started doing digital detoxes as well. One was for the reason of kind of stress management, mental health, but also just giving my body a break and being able to come up with ideas that would allow me to expand the impact that I want to have with Fit Vegan. And so the first year I was doing digital detoxes every quarter, so every 3 months. And last year was every 2 months. And this year so far, they've been every 2 months as well. And then this was the first one for 2 weeks. But that nervous system issues popped up again right before I left on the digital detox, which tells me that I was at really peak amounts of stress and workload. And so that's why I was napping 2 hours every single day on the first week. I was also in the midst of preparing for my final interview for immigration, because as some of you have been following my journey along, I got married over a year ago to my beautiful wife, Ivy. And I applied for a green card so that I would be able to stay in the country, because her and I have had to move twice, right? We had to move to Canada once and kind of move back here, and we weren't able to really live in the same country. So we decided for me to immigrate here because the weather's nicer, to be honest with you. And it was my last interview following Monday, mid through my digital detox. So we couldn't really travel anywhere. I had some meetings with my lawyers and trying to get everything ready. And I am happy to say and report that I was approved for my green card. And by the time this episode comes out, I should be receiving it in the mail at this point. So I will be able to stay in the country, which is really fun because there's a lot of conferences that I got invited to speak at and a lot of great opportunities here for me to expand our message and the mission that we're on. And it would be really hard to do that if I wasn't allowed in the United States. So very happy to have my green card. That was on the Monday. And so after that, we decided to kind of leave our town since we could at that point. And so we decided to go camping. And there's this beautiful place called Lake Piru, I believe is how you say it. It was very quiet, very peaceful. We went there in the middle of the week for 2 nights, and it was completely dead because it was the middle of the week. And it was very nice for Ivy and I to just be able to do nothing. Literally, all we did was we laid down by the lake. We played cards. We napped. We read. We journaled. We just talked. Made a fire. We cooked together. We took our time with everything. There's something nice about just not having to be anywhere for a specific time where we'd wake up, have coffee, we'd cook, and then we'd go wash the dishes just because it's camping and you only have, 2 cups and 2 plates and 2 of everything. So it was a very peaceful trip. And then we just kind of came back home and relaxed some more, went back into training for basketball because my event is coming up in less than 2 months, my combine recruiting event. And yeah, just spent some quality time with Ivy's mom. And it was Mother's Day, I believe, that weekend as well. So we went to church and celebrated. It was all fun. But throughout those 2 weeks, again, because I'm not on a screen, there's a lot of times I was just sitting on the couch. I was sitting outside, just looking out into nature or reading a book, journaling, where I came up with some great insights. And I was able to read 3 books during the digital detox. So I wrote them down here. So there's a few stories and lessons that I learned from every single one of them. One book that I read was recommended to me by Dr. Lori Marbus last year of January 2024. And when she recommended me the book, it's because of that nervous system issues. And she's like, you need to read this book. It'll be a game changer for you. And I had a lot of resistance to reading that book. And so I bought the book. I had it on my bookshelf. I didn't really do anything with it. I kind of read a few pages. And it's about this lady, Anita Morjani, I believe. And it's her story about near-death experience of being diagnosed with cancer and the whole journey and progression of her cancer to ending up in the hospital and her near-death experience and coming back on the other side of it, the experience she learned from it. But the journey that she went through was very similar to the one of my late partner with her breast cancer journey, like the lesions on the body, the lungs filling up with fluid, the rush to the hospital. So every time I'd read a few pages, that book would make me emotional. It would make me cry. And so I had a lot of resistance to reading it. Every time I'd read, it was too intense for me. And for some reason, I felt ready on this digital detox to read the book. And I'm so happy. I wish I would have read it earlier, but I think everything happens for a reason. But I'm so happy that I read that book and that I finally finished it. I still need to text Dr. Lori to say thank you for recommending that book. But there's several things in that book that really hit me hard. But one of them was, she was saying, like, why do people wait to be extremely sick to start to change their lifestyle so that they don't end up in a position to be sick? Because mind you, I'm whole food plant-based. I exercise. I prioritize my sleep. But because of the mission that I feel that's been put in my heart to fulfill in my lifetime of wanting to serve, 10,000 people by 2033, a million by 2050, and what I have in my heart to put out into the world, there's a lot of stress that comes from building something of that size and of building and of wanting to have that impact. And I assume if you're listening to this episode, you probably listened to the episode that I recorded with my good friend Chuck Carroll, where we talked about stress and how much it can destroy the body, even though you're someone that eats whole food plant-based, that exercises, that gets good sleep, that does all those other things. Work and stress can completely eliminate a lot of the progression that you would make with eating whole food plant-based and exercising. That's a big component most people don't talk about. And again, Chuck is in the same position. He has this mission on his heart and he's doing the podcast and he's impacting thousands and millions of lives. But I don't think people understand the stress that comes from being in that public image. It's a lot, right? Chuck referred to it a little bit during the episodes, but I'm going to tell you it's a lot to be in this position. And so that's why it's important for us to take care of ourselves. And when I read that, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to take better care of myself by doing digital detoxes every single month. But I justify to myself like, well, I can't do that because, I'm running a company, we have a lot of employees and we're doing all of these things. But honestly, after being gone for 2 weeks and seeing how much we grew, we thrived, we were able to impact more lives and how the team held it down, I was like, I am now in a position 5+ years into having built this where I can afford to take a 1 week digital detox. And so I've made a new rule, and my clients know this and my team knows this as well. But I will be taking a digital detox the first 7 days of every month because, to be fair, it's kind of like our slowest time, anyways, the first week. And to be honest with you, like I just don't want to deal with that nervous system issue. Clear up like maybe 5 times a year. Last year it was 4. This year it's once within 5 months into the year. Even if it's twice a year, that's too much for me. So I would like to not have to deal with this because of stress. And so I'm throwing a 7-day digital detox at the beginning of every single month. No work, no cell phone, no laptop, no YouTube, no TV, no nothing. And I'll be honest with you, every time I do this digital detoxes, I feel like me again. I feel like a kid again. I feel like this passionate person that just wants to go back out into the world and give more. And it just really allows me to recharge my battery. For me to get massages and meditate, again, for some people, it might work great. Like, don't get me wrong, a massage is nice, but it's 100% not the thing that fills up my cup. And so I've just made a rule for myself: 7-day digital detox, first 7 days of every single month. I will be completely offline, because everything, again, these podcasts I pre-record like a few weeks ahead of time. So we're not rushed on the editing because we want to make sure that we do a good job. So yeah, that's one of the lessons that I got out of that book. It was like, why wait to get sicker and not manage my stress properly for me to change something when I should change something now, right? I might as well learn from my late partner and the people around me, that I should continue to take better care of myself. And for some of you, it might seem like a wild extreme for me to take a week off every single month, but I'm grateful that I've built myself to be in this position. And honestly, every time I come back, I have more to give. I want to serve more. And honestly, I always end up having more impact and more growth every time I take those digital detoxes. And so I understand it's not so doable if you have like a regular job, but I've been able to kind of create that for myself at this point. The second book that I read was, who did recommend that to me? I think it was like several months ago. I was watching a YouTube video and this lady was talking about the book and I wrote it down. So when I finished Dying to Be Me, the next book that I wrote was 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. And it's like I think it says Time Management for Mortals. The book was incredible. And a lot of it was centered around how finite life is. And anyways, you have to read the book. Honestly, like I recommended it to my parents. It's really good. And I recommended it to Ivy as well. But the principle is basically of how most humans, and myself included, move through life thinking that we're somewhat immortal. Like we're aware of the fact that we're going to die one day, but we don't live as if we're going to die one day. So we're like, oh, I will do this later. I don't have to focus on this now. We don't necessarily do the things that will allow us to feel the most alive in the moment because we always think that we can do it later. And we also, a big part of the book was not being selective with the things that we take on and the projects that we take on. And we think that we can do everything. But the reality is that time is finite. And by default, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And it just really got me to reflect on, what am I saying yes to that I don't really care about, that by default is making me say no to something that I actually care about. And there's a few things that were projects that I was working on, that I've just canceled and eliminated because I was like, I don't really want to do those things. It doesn't feel like me living my best life and having the impact that I want to have into the world and for myself and my relationship with my wife. And so I've eliminated some of those projects. I've changed my schedule and certain things that I was working on to put a bigger emphasis on doing the things that make me feel alive and that make me feel better. So I'll probably refer back to lessons from that, just my notes. I just organize them by the books that I read and some of the lessons. So I'll probably come back to some of them, but ultimately, really, really great book. The third book that I read was Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield, and is very interesting analogy between being an amateur and being a professional in whatever that may be, whether you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you're an athlete, or you're a wife or a husband, whatever aspect of your life, and what that looks like for you to make that commitment for yourself to go to that next level. Very short book. It was great. That's the reason I was able to read 3 books. The last one was pretty short. And then I had a conversation with my Tony Robbins coach as well, maybe like the week before I went on my detox. And I figured that I'd share that with you because it kind of tied into some of the lessons that I learned during the detox. But I was feeling tired. I was dealing with this nervous system thing. I was overwhelmed. Business was slow at the time. So just all these stress compounded. And when I had that call with him, he reminded me of a conversation that we had previously, which I wrote in a newsletter and I did a podcast on this when I shared that I was basically looking for ways to feel like shit. Like my life is great, but I was looking at all the dark things and it was making me feel terrible. And he told me something that Tony Robbins often says, which is you don't experience life, you experience the life that you focus on. I was focusing on the wrong things. So when I was on my digital detox and I had that time and that space to think, there was no numbness from scrolling on social media, from watching TV for a long period of time or just looking at a screen. I journal. I got my 2 journals here that I have, and I pulled them up because a lot of the lessons that I learned that I'm sharing with you today were written in here. But I was like, what is the life that I want to experience? So in order to have that, what do I have to focus on? And then I just made a list of my relationship with my wife, with my parents, with my friends, the people that care for me, the support that I have, the members that we get to support, the testimonials from our members and how it's changed their life. I just started to make a list of all of those things and ultimately made a big shift for me. So that was one of the things. The other thing I have on my notes here is that finite time versus immortal, which came from the book 4,000 Weeks, which was just, I think the quote is momento vivere, which is Latin, which is remember to live. And I think it's momento, what's the other one? Basically, it's basically saying like we must remember, we must die. Basically like that we will die, so we need to make the most out of life. And it just really forced me to put an emphasis on like, what is it that I truly, truly want to create? And that's why I said I canceled a bunch of projects because I was like, I don't really care about these things. I know that if I spend my time here, I'll be able to have the impact that I want to have. And that's going to fill my cup and my heart a lot more. Another lesson that I learned is like many of you listening, I've shared this before. We attract who we are. So I have a lot of type A overachievers in the program because I am a recovering type A and overachiever. And a lot of that, and I'm just going to speak for myself. I'm not going to put that on everyone else. The reason that I am like that is because I somewhat like to have security. And in that security, it translates into me wanting to have control over things. And so if I really want something to happen, I will work really, really hard towards it more than anyone that I know around me. But because I'm gripping it so hard, it's kind of like squeezing a hose with water trying to run through it. Like the water can't flow through it. Like the abundance can't flow through it. And so that's what I find that happens a lot in my life. If I really want something and I care a lot, I hold it so tightly to try to make it happen. But I'm also constricting the water from flowing through it, from getting the juice or the liquid that's going to come out of the thing that I'm trying to create for myself or in my life, in my relationship with my family. So I was able to let go during the digital detox through having that realization that this need to want to have some certainty and to trying to get some control is causing me to tighten up and to grip tighter, which is preventing things from flowing. And when I let go, A lot of beautiful things happen in my personal. Again, I got the green card. The business grew a lot more than I thought when I was going to be gone. Amazing thing happens with my parents and my family. There's a lot of cool things that happen when I just let go and I just focus on being me and allowing life to flow, which is a really hard thing to do when you're a type A overachiever and you're trying to control the majority of things, right? Certain things you try to control that you know you can't control, but you're still trying. I've definitely been in that boat. Um, the other thing I wrote is doing the digital detox the first 7 days of the month, because honestly, it helps me to feel like me amongst this massive mission that I'm on. And hey, I was talking this to my Tony Robbins coach this morning because I had a call with him. I told him, I don't know if it makes sense for me to do that, but it feels right. And I told him, anyways, everyone that has built anything massive in life didn't know what the heck they were doing and they were just figuring it out. And so I'm doing the same thing. I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but it feels like the right thing to do. And I know that I can't pour from an empty cup. And so that is my attempt at trying to keep my cup full of going at it for 3 weeks and then resting for 1 week and then see how that works out. I might change it in a few months from now, but right now is what feels right, basically. And then the other thing I wrote was going camping. That was a beautiful thing, just to be in nature, have an air mattress that didn't freaking stay inflated. The first night was not too bad. The second night, we there was it was the I filled it up, and within 5 minutes I was halfway through the ground. And so I got upset. I was like flipping it over, trying to find the holes, and I put duct tape on it. And then I filled it up thinking I got all the holes. And then it just, within again 5 minutes, a quarter of it was gone. And I was telling Ivy it was so frustrating because I'm just sitting there and I can feel it deflating slowly. And that within the next 20 minutes, I'll end up on the ground. And I ran out of duct tape and I couldn't find the other holes that were causing that. So I just deflated the whole thing. And Ivy and I just slept on the ground that last night. We slept like babies, to be honest with you. We slept phenomenally well for having slept on the hard ground. It was like my shoulders felt good, my back felt good. So I was very surprised by that. But going camping allowed us to, just be bored. Honestly, like I now see that as a positive, but just allowed us to be bored and have that space to reconnect and laugh. We played cards a lot. We're very competitive, so we had a lot of fun with that. And then the next point that I have on my list is, that was a really personal one, and it's making me like tear up a little bit. But that was from the book Dying to Be Me by Anita Morjani. The whole, if you hear the title Dying to Be Me, the reason why she says that she got cancer and like the progression of her journey and her realization was that she never felt like she could be herself. She was fearful of being able to be herself. And then she named a lot of scenarios in her career and family and sports and society and the things that she did. And I was like, I'm doing those things. I'm like 100%. I'm fearful to be me 100%. As much as I'm very vulnerable on these podcasts and in the newsletter, I'm work in progress as well. And so just realizing that I needed to stop fearing being my true self was so relieving and brought tears to my eyes. It's making me tear up a little bit now. But I was like, I'm done living in the fear. I'm going to create the things that I want to create. I'm going to do things how I want to do them. And if people don't like it, then too bad, because now I get to be happy with myself and how I'm doing it. And I was talking with another guy that I helped grow his business out of the UK, and we have calls every month. And he's like, you have a way of seeing life through certain metaphors and to kind of pull out the lessons out of it. And he said like it's a really beautiful thing. And I was like, you know what's funny is you find that beautiful, but I used to get made fun of for seeing life this way and being able to use all of these weird analogies to explain certain things. That's just how my brain thinks. And I used to get made fun of for that. But now it's cool because I'm successful and I've built this business and this platform. So it's very interesting that I haven't changed in that way, but now it's perceived as a good thing when it wasn't before. So I'm happy I stayed true to myself when it comes to that. Another thing I tear up recording this. Ooh, all right, next point. Yeah, maybe I'm too vulnerable, but I feel here's how I feel about these things and why I share these things. I don't need, again, I don't need pity. I don't need any of those things. Anything that I share, I own. I never share something that I don't own or that I haven't worked through for myself. But I know that I can't be the only one that's in this position. And I've realized from being in the position that I'm in for a long time that the best way to serve other people is for other people to realize that they're not the only weird one going through this thing, and that we're all human and that it's possible to work through it. And what I've received a lot of emails and messages from is sometimes when I share something, it clicks for certain people because they haven't seen it from that perspective. And so that's the reason why I do this, right? I don't know why I've been called to serve the way that I want to serve so deeply inside of me, but I can't do anything about it. I have to do it. It doesn't feel like I would be living if I didn't do those things. So that's what I'm sharing. I was journaling about this of like, how do we help our clients even more in the program, right? Like I'm always looking to optimize the program. And to a certain extent, like we're world class at creating workout programs and meal plans that are effective for transformation. But I know, and I know that you know, and all of our coaches know that the plan is only a small fraction of the whole equation. Like, yeah, you can have a great plan, but if you don't follow it, that's the same as not having a plan, right? So you don't move forward if you don't have a plan or a structure in place for you to reach your goal. So regardless of what the plan and structure is, if you don't follow it, it's like having none of it. So I just wrote down that everyone is on their own unique healing journey. Like I'll be honest, like I know when we coach someone and they have an issue of compliance with nutrition, and they have an issue of compliance with exercise or binge eating or bad relationship with food, or they self-sabotage, or either they are sorry overly obsessed over the small details that don't make a difference, that just completely stresses them out and keeps their body in a stress state. That's because every single one of those people, just like myself, just like our coaches, just like everyone on this planet, is dealing with their own and your not your ability, but your willingness to work on why you have that behavior, that pattern, or those habits is what will allow you to move forward and make progression. Because some people, just like me that I'm working on, are control freaks. So they want all the little micronutrients and micrograms to align perfectly for every single meal, for every single day. If life throws them a curveball, they're very stressed out because it's not the perfect thing and they don't feel like they have control over it. So therefore they go and self-sabotage, right? Some people feel like if they can't do something 100%, they don't even take it on because they don't even feel like it's worth it because they can't do it properly. Some people have had trauma in their life with family members, with previous relationships, with careers, situations where they got burned or they were mistreated, and it's causing them to either pull in and not speak out when they need help, or not really give it a shot because they don't feel that they deserve it. And some people, it's the opposite. They have to feel like they have to control every single variable, which is super stressful. Like I said, the tighter you hold on to it, you can't allow the water to flow through it. So I just wrote down like every one of our clients and everyone that we get to serve and will continue to serve throughout the years of us continuing to coach is going through their own journey, is to continue to have compassion, to continue to have empathy for them, because who knows why they have a bad relationship with food? Who knows why they like to have so much control and are so worried about all the small details when the small details don't really make that much of a difference, right? Transforming your body is actually pretty straightforward, but it's the rules, the patterns, the habits, our perspective on the situation that make it more complex than it needs to be. Right. And so I just wrote down that realization. And obviously we're not therapists. That's not kind of, it's not what we do, but we understand that if we can help people work through their relationship with food and identify some of these self-destructive patterns or habits that they have, or thought processes, or like I said earlier, you don't experience life, you experience a life that you focus on. If all you focus on is the fact that you've been a failure with your diets and your exercise for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 decades, because we work with people between 50 and 86. So they have longer periods of time of like trying this out than if you work with someone that's 20 who's just starting to, watch a nutrition or kind of has some of those goals. Like, if you're focusing on the fact all the times that you failed, then like, yeah, it's probably going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. And I'll share this because this just happened today and it just kind of clicked in my head. Now I had to play basketball this morning, and I was playing against my coach, my basketball coach, and we do always do a little recap after the end of it. It's like, hey, you did a really good job, but when you committed to dribbling to the right side and driving to the net, you did your move, but you stuck to the right when the defender like allowed you to go left. You could have gone left and had an easier point, but all you did was you drove right and you just through athleticism, you just powered your way up to the net and you put it in. He's like, you're making it harder for yourself. He's like, you could have just read the defense and responded to it, and it went to the opposite side, and it'd have been a much easier basket. And so I think that's what a lot of us are doing is we're committed to a certain path and we're trying to power our way through it through pure discipline, determination, athleticism, having a hard head, however you want to put it, to reach that goal. When if we read again the defense, we look at our mind and some of these patterns, we could make the process a lot easier for ourselves to be able to make some progression, to get some results, to see, and ultimately to be able to reach your goal. So that just clicked from me because it's just something that happened. Sometimes we make it harder for ourselves for nothing because we just think we can power through it when there's a much easier alternative that would have resulted in the same, in you scoring a point on both ways. And again, a higher likelihood of scoring a point if you made it easier for yourself. So, and then I have just one last thing on my journal here that I wrote. Let me see how many minutes we're into this thing. 30 minutes. Awesome. Well, a lot of things happen. 2 weeks is a long time. The book, 4,000 Weeks, talk about the fact that most people don't like delay doing certain things and how they don't use their time wisely. So I just wrote this down. I remember a time where I was really broke, when I had like $20 in my bank account. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, I can live for a month, right? I was like, I can live for such a long time on this because I was in a different mindset. Now, if I have $20 in my bank account, I freak out. You know what I mean? Like I got payroll, like I live in LA, the different lifestyle now. But when I was really broke, when I had $10 to my name, I was very cautious with how I spent every dollar, right? So I had to make a decision. I'm either buying this, which means I can't have that, or I buy this, which means I can't have that. So I had to be very intentional with how I spent my money with that $10. But they're basically saying that the resources are finite, are limited, meaning the average human has about 4,000 weeks on earth. That's the whole principle of the book. But a lot of us are living as if we have $100 billion in our bank account. We're like, I will just spend some money there. I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, I'll buy that, I'll buy that. But that's not the reality of things, right? And so by you saying yes to all of these things, you're never going to be able to, again, complete all of them. And you're not putting your finite attention and limited energy that you have in this lifetime to go for the things that you actually care about. Now, what I found for myself, and the reason why I love fitness and being healthy, when I use the word body recomposition, it's simply to represent health ultimately, is because it helps you build a foundation of discipline, of energy, of stamina. And it just puts you in it allows you to see life from a different perspective. And you've now proven to yourself that you can have control over and manage this body that you've been given. And to me, that's the ultimate foundation upon which you can live an incredible life, because that will leak into your relationship, to your career, to your business, to your time with your kids, your time with your friends, your time with your family. And so to me, that's why I like it, because it's just building that foundation upon which you can build upon. Because your body is a reflection of your internal state and the level of discipline that you have in your life in regards to this. Because with the level that I'm training that I'm doing now, I also train with other elite athletes. Some of them have a lot of excess body fat and some of them don't. And they're training the same amount. They're training 15, 20 hours a week. The only difference is one of them in the evening time, he's eating food, a lot more food, not the healthiest food. And the other one is making healthier decision. That's the only difference. I can picture it when I see them. I can picture him sitting on the couch eating the food that he's not supposed to be eating and that's not serving his goal, and the other one making a completely different decision. That's all it comes down to at the end of it. But again, it is a reflection of internally how you're feeling. So for some of you, you have different work to do than I have to do. So for me, that sense of security, fear of being me fully, of letting go, of control, of all of those things, that's the stuff that I got to work on. You may have the same things you have to work on for yourself, but I invite you to figure that out because, first of all, it is a beautiful thing to take on because once you have those breakthroughs, they just shift your mind and you can't go back to the old version of you once you have one of those breakthroughs. Like your mind is changed forever. You can't go back to the old version of your brain. Those new connections have been made. And whether that is through thinking that you need to deal with a specific thing and buying a book on it, and that's going to open another door, and it might lead you to listen to a video, and it might say something that you're going to build upon by having a conversation with someone else. Like all of those things compound. And that's what I love about reading is you get to benefit from a lifetime of experience, of studying, of mastering a specific field. And there's always something that unlocks that leads me to read a different book or have a different conversation or talk to someone, a new person, or talk to someone differently that just leads to that progression of development. And again, I'm still figuring things out as I move along. I will never be perfect because I don't think there's like that really exists, because I could make two different choices right now by posting this video or not posting this video, which would bring me down two very different paths. Because some of people are going to resonate with it. Some people are not going to resonate with it. Something might come out of me making this video. Something positive or negative might come out of me putting out this video. So every decision you make is moving you forward. And so I just invite you to take on that journey and understand that if you do choose to work with us for your transformation, understand that it's not just about training and nutrition. Understand that we will, with our coaches, dive a little bit deeper into like, hey, why do you have a bad relationship with food? Why do you turn to this when you have a really stressful day at work? Why do you throw it all away when you go on vacation, right? Again, we're not blaming you. Life happens. We're human. We get it. We've been there too, but we want to uncover these things. And so as I am doing the work, right? Because I wouldn't ask anyone else to do something that I'm not willing to do. And also me recording this episode is also me showing you that I'm willing to do the work as well. And so that's pretty much all I have for you on this episode. 37 plus minutes into this. Again, I hope it was valuable. I haven't recorded a podcast in over 2 weeks. By the time this comes out, I will be on another digital detox the first week of June. Again, first 7 days of every month. And so if you resonated with it, send me an email. I would love to read your email once I come back online. I hope it resonates with some of you and it's going to help to shift your perspective, which understand that everyone is going through their own thing. Everyone's learning, even the people that are the face of health and in fitness, right? I know so many people that are in the health industry, in the fitness industry, that are dealing with their own things. No one's perfect. And for some of you that think that training and nutrition is the only component that matters, it's a big part, but stress management is a big one. As you can tell with me, you can tell with Chuck. I wouldn't be surprised if Chef AJ's stuff is related to some stress as well, because she's been working her butt off to go live every single day. I could go live every single day. I choose not to because I know how stressful it would be to do that. And so we all have our things to work on. And yeah, I'm just ranting at this point, but I want to say I appreciate you all for listening to this podcast episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I believe there's like a follow button or whatever it may be. I invite you to click on that. That way you get notified when new episodes come out. If you're watching on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We have a goal of reaching 15,000 subscribers by the end of June, and we're pretty close to it at this point. We're on track to actually hit our goals. And so I appreciate everyone for all the love and support, especially if you've made it all the way to the end of this podcast. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.